Hello everyone. This PowerPoint presentation is prepared on the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act 1946. This PowerPoint presentation is prepared as this act is very significant to know the terms and conditions upon which the employee is working under an industrial establishment. So before this enactment, there is a history which will be discussed in introductory part, that the employers, they are there in practice to form the orders, standing orders in their favor only. So the Labor Investigation Committee in its report at page number 113 has observed that an industrial worker has the right to know the terms and conditions upon which he is employed in an industrial establishment, and the rules of discipline which he must follow while working in that particular premises. The rules of service have been very elastic to suit the convenience of employers. This is the introductory part. Means what? The position was there in existence before the enactment of this Act of 1946. No doubt, several large-scale industrial establishments have adopted standing orders and rules to govern the day-to-day relations between the employers and workers, but such standing orders or rules are clearly one-sided. And therefore, it was ameliorate these evils that the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act 1946 was passed. Before this act, there was no law to prevent the employer from having different contracts of employment with workmen that led to confusion and discriminatory treatment. Means employers were in practice to enter into a contract with an employee which is having vague terms and discriminatory treatment among the workers. Therefore, the tripartite labor conference pleaded for defining the conditions of employment so as to create harmonious relations between employer and workmen. The relationship between employer and workmen must be harmonious so that it will improve the quality of production and ultimately it will be useful for the national progress. Before this act, victimization and unfair labor practices were quite frequent. The concept of unfair labor practice is very important to see to study the important provisions of this act. Unfair labor practices will be discussed at the end of this presentation. The industrial worker had no right to know the terms and conditions and rules of discipline of his employment. This was the position before the enactment of this act. Now, why this act came into existence? To define conditions of employment under them and to make known the said conditions to workmen. Workmen must be aware of all the terms and conditions upon which he has been given employment by the employer. Therefore, to make known the said conditions to workmen is one of the objectives behind this enactment. Second one is to require employers to define the conditions of work. Employers are under obligation to define the conditions of work under which employees or workers will work in that particular establishment. To bring about a uniformity in terms and conditions of employment means in similar nature of industrial establishment, the uh, model standing orders should be defined and workers should be governed with the model standing orders drafted by the employers. Next one is to minimize industrial conflicts. Because of vague conditions, because of discriminatory conditions or standing orders, rules of discipline, the conflicts between employer and employee affected badly on the production output. To foster harmonious relations between employers and employees is one of the objectives of this act. To provide statutory sanctity and importance to standing orders is also one of the objectives of this act. Therefore, before this enactment, the evils were in practice are abolished by the various provisions of this act, and it has been provided statutory sanctity and importance to standing orders to be followed as drafted by the employer is obligation upon the employer by this act. Now we will move further to the applicability of this act. The act is applicable to the whole of India and extends to all industrial establishment wherein the number of workmen employed is 100 or more on any day of the preceding 12 months. it is very important to know the particular act is applicable or not to the particular establishment. Therefore, it is very clear that where the 100 or more employees were employed on any day of the preceding 12 months, then the provisions of this act are applicable to that particular establishment. However, the appropriate government can exempt any establishment from any of the provisions of the act as they have reserved the power with them. It applies to railways, factories, mines, quarries, oil fields, tramways, motor services, docks, plantation, workshops, civil construction and maintenance works, and the act has 15 sections and a schedule. All workmen employed in any industrial establishment to do any skilled, unskilled, manual, supervisory, technical, clerical work are also covered, including trainee workers, that is apprentices. So persons employed mainly in a managerial, administrative, supervisory capacity drawing wages exceeding rupees 1600 are not covered. Applicability is on the basis of workers employed in that particular establishment and the person drawing wages per month. These two things are the basis of applicability of the provisions of this act. Definitions. The most important definition is standing orders. The rules of conduct for workmen employed in an industrial establishment relating to matters such as classification of workmen, working hours, holidays, attendance, leave, termination of employment, suspension, dismissal, and misconduct. These things are very, very important, as we have seen that during the situation of lockdown, during certain situation, employers may terminate the employment of worker, employer may suspend the employer from his work, employer may dismiss the worker. Again, if he is guilty of misconduct, then this punishment can be evoked by the employer. But there are certain rules regarding working hours, rules regarding classification of workmen, then holidays, attendance, leaves. These are the rights of workers, therefore, this should be governed with the model standing orders only. Now, the next definition is model standing orders, which means the draft prescribed by the central and state government to serve as an exemplary pattern of the rules of conduct based on which the industrial establishment can draft their own standing orders and get them certified by the certifying officers appointed for this purpose. This is nothing but draft prescribed by the central and state government to serve as an exemplary pattern of the rules of conduct. These are nothing but the draft of rules of conduct on which the industrial establishment has unanimously decided that these are the standing orders and to be followed by the employers and employees. They will not go beyond the model standing orders. The Supreme Court, the two important cases are there. The Supreme Court in Bakalkot Cement Company Limited versus Pathan KK 1962 LLJ 203 held that certified standing orders have statutory force and after they are certified constitute the statutory terms of employment between the industrial establishment in question and their employees. Means, if there is any dispute between employer and employee, if there is any dispute between employer and employee upon a particular term or condition or upon terms and conditions of his work, then the certified standing orders are nothing but it is having statutory value as a terms of employment between industrial establishment and their employees. Therefore, the model standing order shall prevail in case of any dispute upon terms and conditions of employment. Again, in Western Indian Match Company versus Workmen, All India Reporter 1964, Supreme Court 1458, the Supreme Court spoke in similar terms. The terms of employment specified in the standing orders would prevail over the corresponding terms in the contract of service in existence at the time of the enforcement of the standing order. Means, if the standing order is there in existence and if the contract which is formed between employer and workmen, that is contract of his employment. Then if there is any dispute, then standing order would prevail over the corresponding terms in the contract of service in existence, which is at the time of the enforcement of the standing order. Okay, so standing orders are having that much significance to govern the terms and conditions of work of the worker or employee. For this purpose, they must be certified by the certifying officers. Therefore, this is the certification process given under this slide, and its operation, which is having a binding effect. Submission of draft standing order by employers is first stage to get it certified. Section 3 of the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act, hereinafter referred to IESOA, requires every employer of an industrial establishment to submit draft standing orders, that is, rules relating to matters set out in the schedule proposed by him for adoption in his industrial establishment. Such a draft should be submitted within 6 months of the commencement of the Act to the certifying officers. Certifying officers are appointed under the Act, and the draft must be submitted within 6 months after the commencement of this Act is the condition under Section 3. Failure to do so is punishable and is further made a continuing offence. Therefore, the additional condition is that the draft standing orders must be accompanied by particulars of workmen employed in the establishment, as also the name of the trade union, if any, to which they belong. Under subsection 4 of section 3, if the industrial establishments are of similar nature, the group of employers owning those industrial establishments may submit a joint draft standing order. Therefore, individually they need not to get it certified. Therefore, in a group, jointly they may submit joint draft of standing orders applicable to their workers working